Hi, everybody. I'm Martin Bandyke. Welcome to a 107 one-on-one with a musician you have heard for many, many years here on our radio station. And that's Jonathan Russell of The Head and the Heart, releasing their fifth album, Every Shade of Blue, at the end of April. It's a real pleasure to talk to you, Jonathan. Welcome to the station. What's it feel like here in 2022 as we are trying to get back to normal little by little? And you've got your first album coming out in how long? About 3 years or so. How you feeling?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, Martin. I appreciate the time, and it feels good to sort of shake off the rust after so long of not doing this. And it's funny, that car that just went by reminds me of how well we've gotten really used to doing so many things at home.
Yeah.
Let me close this window real quickly.
Oh yeah, you go right ahead.
I think it's been an interesting process. I'm sure as it has been for you as well.
Yeah, I've been doing radio from home off and on for the last 2
Mhm.
years. Happily been back at the radio station now for a few months, and
Great.
we're just so thrilled as more and more concerts get announced and more albums are coming out. You're just sort of feeling like, wow, we're maybe not quite back to normal, but we're sure getting there.
Okay.
We're playing the first single from the album, Virginia, and this has got to be a reference to where you're from. You're from Richmond, Virginia. Is that where you were born?
So I've spent a lot of time in Richmond. I was actually born in Jacksonville, Florida, of all places. But I moved to Virginia when I was 12, so in like '97.
Got it.
Middle school, high school, sort of coming of age years. And then when everyone went to college, I moved to Richmond, which is an hour south of where I was living as a kid, and surrounded myself with musicians and artists. And then I felt like the next step I needed to take was to kind of find a city where there was a little more of an emphasis on music and a little more of a infrastructure for music and the arts. Richmond has since really made an amazing. They've really established themselves much more than they were than 11, 8, 9 years ago now, I guess, is when I left to go to Seattle. As you may detect in the tone of the song Virginia, I've sort of always come back to this place. And I guess excuse me, the overall tone I was trying to sort of capture in the song was how it's an interesting thing for you to know a place so well, and for quite a while you feel like the place also knows you, and you've got places you go to, and you run into people. And as my life has developed, and I went to Seattle for 4 or 5 years, came back, went to the Bay Area. This is where I met my now wife, came back. And every time I've done that, I've sort of, you grow older, your career is evolving. Some of your friends you used to know here come and go, and your identity within this place continues to change, even though I feel like I still really know this place well. You're constantly faced with friends that are moving away, or new people that are friends with your old friends, and you sort of have to reacquaint yourself into this place. Yet it somehow still feels like home. I'm not sure that I'm doing a very eloquent job of describing that, but that's essentially what I tried to do in the song, which I think I did a better job in the song than I did just now. But
do you write all the material for the band? Are you the prime lyricist and music writer, Jonathan?
There are two other songwriters in terms of lyricism in the band, Charity and her husband Matt Gervais. We call him Matty. Matty is extremely prolific. He has like 2 records of his own just sitting on the shelf right now. Charity is less prolific, but like I think maybe honestly my favorite songwriter in this band. I think the 3 of us have an interesting balance by the way that we inherently write and put work out. We've created a really interesting blend, the 3 of us. And then musically, everyone really has their own hand on the songs. That'll change depending on the song. Like Virginia Wind in the Night, I think I started on my own with the piano, so I kind of already had this. And so it didn't really leave too much room for Kenny, who's our piano player. However, there's other songs like I don't know. I think of a song like 10,000 Weight in Gold, which is off our second record. And he and Kenny basically wrote the whole bridge and had a huge hand in like how to sort of guide me along the way. This band, especially over the years, people have sort of like, they've, especially on record, they contribute a lot more than what you just see them doing live. You know, like our bass player does far more than play bass on the record. And so there's a lot of multi-instrumentalists in the band. So musically, it's a very much of a collective. Songwriting, it tends to come, I guess, primarily from me. But there are other two very strong and very interesting other songwriters in this band as well.
Appreciate hearing the keyboards. I can't see that in our picture frame here. That was a very pleasant surprise. So anytime you want to join back in on the piano there, I love it, Jonathan. Could you talk? There are two other songs on your upcoming album in particular that just are really, really tug at the heart for me. And could you talk about a couple of these and maybe a couple of others that you really are close to as well on the new album? Paradigm and Family Man really jump out to me as real special ones. What's the story behind those songs? Talk about those two a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I love that you are into Paradigm. That's one of my mom's favorite songs as well. The bass line. I just love how it comes in. That song just makes me want to dance like immediately. Yeah.
Well, I'm a drummer, so I guess it's that rhythm thing that grabbed me right from the top with that one.
Yeah. Almost like a Fleetwood Mac vibe to it. You know, it's interesting. I wrote that song with a friend in Los Angeles, and it was one of those songs where lyrically, I almost to this day have no idea what it's about. Like, I genuinely, I'm always sort of listening, and depending on where I'm driving or what I'm doing, I'm like, oh, that's what that song's about. And then it'll change. But it's funny. I mean, something about the essence of it, I just am obsessed with it. I really can't. I don't even know what to tell you in terms of what it's about.
That's okay. I did an interview recently with Aeneas Mitchell of Bonnie Light Horseman, and one of the songs on her new album, she said, I don't know. I'm not quite sure what that song means at all, but it just sort of came to me as this feeling, and I had to put it on tape, and it's like that's cool. I like it. I like it when a song doesn't necessarily have a fixed meaning, but it just moves you for one reason or another. What about Family Man? Does that have a more a message that you can pinpoint a little more?
Yes. That song I wrote really about my relationship with my father, and how two of us had a pretty tumultuous time when I was growing up. And much later in my life, I ran into him, and I sort of noticed that he had sort of figured it out a little bit more. He'd become a little more able to be a family man, to be like to his then grandkids, not through me, through another marriage. And I was just thrown off by it and shocked. And then initially I was like pretty upset about it. And then I was just like, better late than sorry that he figured out how to, I don't know, reach to something that allowed him to be more of a father figure to someone, at least. So to me, that song is very much about my relationship with my father. I mean, those verses, especially, it's maybe pretty literal in a sense of how much the tumultuous nature that went on in my household. But a lot of people hear that song and they think it's about me or my friends, and it's it's a relatable feeling. I mean, I'm in my mid to late 30s now, and the majority of my friends are either married or having their first, or in some instances third child. And sometimes you run into that friend that's like, hey man, remember we used to hang out before you had kids? Like, you're a family man now. And so it's interesting. The song that I actually do feel I can pinpoint, very few people are going to think it's about my own father. They're going to turn it into something that is more relatable to their own story, which is amazing. That's, I think, one of the most interesting things about songwriting.
Yeah. The listeners complete the picture and complete the meaning, which may not
Yeah.
be at all what you
Yeah.
were thinking of when you wrote it, but that's how art works.
Totally.
It's funny that way.
Like, what do you need it to be? What do you need this to be? And you can use it on your own.
Yeah, it's so true. How did the album Every Shade of Blue just come about technically? I mean, we've talked to people. We did a 107 one-on-one a few months ago with Elvis Costello. We did his latest album, completely remotely. Were you able to be in the studio with your band members? How did it get done?
It was about 50-50.
Yeah.
About April of 2020 was when we realized. I mean, we didn't realize how long of a process it would be, but we were like, okay, this isn't like a couple weeks and then we're out on tour. So we took a budget that we were going to use on like a recording budget for like one location in hotels and flights. And we were like, I think we're going to be inside for a while. Let's set up, let's make sure every single person in the band has at least enough gear to where we can send tracks back to one another and they can talk to each other. And we worked with quite a few producers remotely. They were willing to try it out. Paradigm, for instance, was with John Hill. John Hill did Misconnection with us last record. He also did Feel It Steel with Portugal the Man. One of my favorite records by Santigold, her first record, was John Hill.
Wow.
Just really cool, all over the place. Great stuff. Anyway, so he agreed to try it out remote with us with Paradigm, and it was an interesting process. I mean, the whole process in general of making this record was it was the most hybrid we've ever really done, where it's all, or not all actually, but there is plenty of like live tracking. But like, especially in Paradigm, actually, like that sort of almost REM outro that happens at the end of Paradigm was actually supposed to be in the chorus. Maddie did all of these layering acoustics. And we've sort of been like, depending on the producer we worked with, they had their way of doing things, and he would chop up. He would, maybe even with Tyler's drum beat, he would chop that up and be like, what if we tried this in this section? So it was really interesting. I mean, we're sending him these tracks, and Tyler might think like, oh, that's the verse beat, and Maddie's like, in the chorus, I'm hearing all of these guitars. And then we get our first mix back, and it's like, those guitars don't come in until the very end of the song. The drum beat is completely different. The chorus beat becomes the verse beat. And we had never worked like that before. But to be honest with you, I found it so refreshing. I mean, somebody just kind of took your work and sort of reimagines it. And you can tell when it's working and it clicks. I mean, so it was a really, and sometimes I wonder, like, if we were doing this in person, would we have allowed that to happen? There's 6 cooks in this kitchen already.
Yeah.
And we've been known to sort of get in our own way and sort of try and correct things. So I don't know. I almost feel like it was a blessing in disguise, some of what we had to do, quote unquote, remotely. And then eventually we were all able to get vaccinated, and we flew into Seattle, and we finished the record in person with this producer, Jesse Shatkin, who is another LA producer that I had kind of met over the years and gotten really close with. And he also doesn't really work with like bands very much. And it was just an interesting hybrid model. I mean, kind of similar deal where we would go and throw the kitchen sink at it. We'd be all playing live in a room, overdubbing all these crazy ideas. And then we would sort of listen back and just, okay, that's too much there. Get rid of that. And it was just it was almost like sculpting, which I've never sculpted, but it felt like that. Yeah, it was a really unique process for us to make this record. And it feels like the most bold record we've made, honestly. It's my favorite record we've ever made. I just, there's delicate moments like taking my time,
Oh, yeah.
Or even like Love Me Still is just like an electric guitar and a vocal, and it reminds me of like an early Beatles song meets like the Strokes.
That's a cool combo.
Yeah, right. I mean, it kind of feels like one of those early like Love Me Do. But then like Family Man, which is what to me, Family Man makes me think of Tupac Like I feel like Tupac on that record.
Uh-huh.
It's just so much fun. I can't wait to pull all these songs off live. Tiebreaker is like one of the sexiest like rhythm tracks I feel like we've done in a while or ever. Um, Same Hurt, like, oh, there's just so many scenes that happen in this record that I can't wait for people to hear and to see live. I just can't wait. I can already tell there's certain motions where I'm like, okay, this is where I'm going to be for this part of this song. I just cannot wait to start performing these songs.
My last question: how much have you been able? When was the last time you've played a gig? I mean, over the last 2 years or so. When were the last? When was the last time you were able to do any shows?
Yeah, I mean, altogether, publicly it was like November of 2019.
Wow.
We did just recently, I guess maybe a few months ago, we did some private show in Las Vegas.
Uh-huh.
But it wasn't, it was kind of just like we didn't play any of this new music yet, so it wasn't really like our show. So not until really May, I guess May 20 is our first show in Florida, St. Pete's. That'll be our first show with our stage design and our gear and our set list and our new music and old. I'm so looking forward to it. I'm freaking out a little bit. I don't want to get too excited and have something go awry, but yeah, I'm very, very excited for it to happen.
The adrenaline will be flowing that night for sure. And we look forward to seeing you September 29th at Meadowbrook Amphitheater. It's been a 107 one-on-one with Jonathan Russell of The Head and the Heart. The new album, Every Shade of Blue, is out at the end of April the 29th. Thank you so much for the music over all the years in this brilliant new album. And thanks for the time. And be well. And we'll see you in a couple of months, my friend. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Martin. Take care. Bye, everybody.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye.